Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Clarity in the Chaos, in which we attempt to bring some vertical clarity into our horizontal chaos. We are going through the book of Proverbs with select passages from each chapter. Today, we're in Proverbs 3. And I love all the Proverbs, but I really like Proverbs 3. There's some great passages in it, some great principles to live by. And frankly, I had a hard time just selecting just one passage that would work for today for us, but I found one I believe is relevant. Now, I'm skipping over the one that's my favorite, Proverbs 3, 5, and 6, where we're told to trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not on your own understanding, in all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will direct your paths. Great passage, powerful truth, relevant for our day. But I like what follows and perhaps has a more relevant application for us in the midst of this chaos that we are a part of today. So let me read these two verses and then we'll think about it for just a moment. So verse 7 says this: "Do not be wise in your own eyes. Fear the Lord and depart from evil." There's the instruction, and here is the result if you do. Verse 8, "It will be health to your flesh and strength to your bones." One of the things that I love finding in Scripture is the connection between the realm of the spirit or the spiritual truth and our spiritual life and our physical life. And there is a connection. They are not isolated segments of life. They are not compartmentalized. There is a direct connection between what you believe in your heart and your physical condition. And the bridge between them is in the midst of our mind and our emotions. What we believe and how we respond is the bridge between our spiritual life and our physical life. So that what you believe drives how you feel and think. It plays out even in your physical condition. So you get to this passage, and he says there are some things that can actually bring some physical benefit to you. And let's start with the physical benefits. He says, if you do these things, you'll have health in your flesh and strength in your bones. Break these down just a little bit. Health is the word here for healing or a cure. It will actually help restore your physical health. This is to your flesh. This is not a spiritualized discussion. This has application into your physical health. He says there will be some health or healing, restoring that will occur. And it says it's to your flesh. Now, the King James says here to your navel. And it's a reference to umbilical cord, to the source of life coming into a baby in the womb. And so he's saying there is a health, a healing that occurs in the core of who you are, in the center of you, even physically. And he says it will also be strength, or the word here is a marrow. It's refreshing, it's drink to your bones. Your structure, the essential core of who you are, the physical part, your skeletal system. And he says there will be a refreshing, a fluidity, if you will, to your bone structure. At the core of our skeletal system is the marrow. This is, scientists know and have discovered that this is where our immune system lies. This is where the red blood cells and white blood cells are produced. And so someone that has a healthy skeletal system and marrow, they have a stronger immune system. Now boy, in this day, this is one of the ways that you can prevent taking in infection and virus, is by having a strong immune system. So a lot of people discount this idea that spiritual belief can impact physical health. But here it is right here in Scripture. And he says there are some very specific things that can actually boost your body's immune system. And there are some things that can be destructive to your body's immune system. So he says here in verse 7, do not be wise in your own eyes. In other words, arrogance can be destructive to your physical health. Someone who is angry, bitter, demanding their way, he says there is a physical application to that. There is a physical result to someone who has a spiritual, mental, emotional fix on arrogance. And they stay focused on the hurt that someone has caused them, and they're angry about it, or they're bitter about it, or they're vindictive about it, or they replay their hurts, or they think of themselves greater than other people. They want to lord over, look down on. There are physical implications of that spiritual belief. And then he says, do not be wise in your own eyes, but fear the Lord. In other words, don't live in anxiety and panic and fear and worry, because that has a physical toll on you as well. Psychologists and doctors all know that there are physical results of allowing fear, panic, and anxiety to exist in our emotions. He says, in place of that, fear the Lord. Recognize Him. Give reverence to Him. Trust Him. Don't be overtaken by panic and fear and worry. Trust Him. He says, also, depart from evil. Leave off sin that is going to be destructive to you. Leave off greed and lust and any sin that's going to detract and pull you away from your focus on Christ. So he says there are three things that can be destructive to your physical health: arrogance, anxiety, and involvement in sin. But the opposite of those is true. And that's really what he's driving home here. He says, if you will instead have humility, if you will have trust in God, if you'll rest in Him, if you'll recognize Him, if you'll reverence Him, it will bring a peace to your body. It will bring health to your bones. It will settle your emotions, and you will actually have a stronger core, a stronger marrow, a stronger immune system, humility, and then a passion. Fear the Lord. That doesn't put me off in a corner somewhere. That puts me on the front line. That moves me to action. That moves me to worship. That moves me with a passionate drive. God, you've called me to a purpose. This is my time. This is what you've made me for. I will fear you and walk in your ways. So the person who's humble but passionate and worshipful, and then the one who departs from evil, he is passionate on walking in righteousness. He is seeking to remain pure and clean and walk in God's ways. That person who is not wise in his own eyes, who fears the Lord, and he departs from evil, he's going to have some benefits that come to his life. They'll come into his emotions, his mind, and his physical body. It will be health to your flesh and strength to your bones. So, find your greater immune system boost today in walking with Christ, in understanding His promises and practicing them in your life. I know we're all focused on eating what's right and exercising, and those are great immune boosters as well. But let's not ignore the greater immune system booster. Taking in the right spiritual diet, feeding our spirit, believing promises, and two, exercising those promises in our own life, in our own heart. If you'll do that, you will find greater clarity in the midst of all the chaos.